us this opportunity, as well as some interviews that you'll hear shortly. XDefiant is a free-to-play first-person shooter that is essentially a love letter to Ubisoft's franchises. So I think that they're trying to do some competitive, they're getting into the competitive e-shooter, but still, gathering towards the casual audience as well, and trying to get into that free-to-play market that we've seen lately. That's been just such a huge hurdle to get your claws into, and to get your community, and to get a community playing and lively and participating. But what XDefiant is trying to do is, like I said, is trying to pull on the heartstrings of some of the games that you've been playing with Ubisoft over the last couple of years. So at its core, like I said, it's a first-person shooter. You have a bunch of guns, bunch of attachments, and then you have their spin on it. Like everybody has their build-ups and their classes and their special and their super abilities, and XDefiant is calling them factions. And factions are anything from an homage to Far Cry to The Division, as well as Watch Dogs in a DedSec style thing. A little bit of hacker stuff. Kind of hinders a little bit on Overwatch, Destiny, where you're building your abilities through cooldowns, as well as through kills and progressing and trying to still push the objective and help your team win. There will be a closed beta for XDefiant. If you're listening to this right when it goes live, that beta is available. You can join our Discord, and I should be able to send you a code, or we should be able to get you a code through multiple means, as everybody that gets one gets invited gets multiple codes. And I do plan on streaming it the weekend that week. I think it's April 13th to the 23rd, so that 10 days that it's out. I do plan on streaming that on twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming. And as always, feedback, reviews, any of that stuff is super helpful, especially when we do something a little different like this. Not a numbered episode, not a Michael's not with me today. Yeah, please listen to the interviews, see if it's something you're interested in. Join our Discord. It's crossplay, all that stuff, like multiple platforms. So we should be able to, one way or another, hopefully get you involved in playing the game if you're interested. And please enjoy the interviews. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm CeeCee Smith. I am the Live Operations Associate Director on XDefiant. And I make sure you have really cool things to do in the game.
That's awesome. So, I mean, at the surface, let's just tell the listening audience what exactly is XDefiant. So we know it's a free-to-play shooter.
Yeah, it's a free-to-play first-person shooter. We're 6v6, and I think with the dev team, we really just wanted to make something, go back to the old school days of just having a really fun first-person shooter to play. You can choose from. One thing that I think is really cool is that you can pick your faction based on the type of style you play. So you can be a tank, or you can be DPS. You want to be a healer. But that doesn't necessarily lock you into a weapon loadout. So you can still be a healer and, run around with an AR or an SMG or something, and have some more of that close gameplay. So it's just really diverse, 6v6 or fun arena shooter.
I think it's really cool that you guys are taking on the history of Ubisoft. There's a bunch of inspiration from The Division and from Far Cry, and from Watch Dogs, even the factions with the DedSec and just some of the other stuff there, just even messing around in the play session I was in of I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but in New York City of from The Division, where you were in the gymnasium and it was the same logos and stuff like that were in the Division game.
It's literally arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our arena map. And I think that, I think I don't want to be too cheesy, but it's kind of our version of a love letter to Ubisoft. And Ubisoft has such a huge portfolio of games that there's so much to be inspired by. And so, like you were saying, there's DedSec, or there's Libertad from Far Cry. And you see that in the factions, but you also see that in the maps. And, even if we might not have a game that would even speak to a faction, there's still an opportunity to then have them represented in some way around the game, which I think is just, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm biased, but I think it's just the coolest thing.
Familiarity is always good, especially in something that, you know, obviously grabbing a free to play player is always the goal, to get them to try the game, and
Yep.
doing stuff, pulling on those nostalgic strings is always a great strategy, I feel like. And it was interesting to see, like, you know, like the cleaner factions and you know, some of those stuff, and then each faction has their own individual announcer as well, which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah, that is one of those really nuanced kind of fun things that you're going to experience when playing XDefiant. So just as an example, like with the cleaners, I believe as Joe Farrow, like you'll hear him doing some barks at you while you're playing. So if you just um, you know, if an opponent is taking a point, he'll call it out and be like, "What are you doing? Get on! They're taking it away from you. Get on the point." And so, you know, with that accent, you know, with the New York accent coming through.
Yeah.
And so it's just those little details. Even if you look around the map, you know, if you're looking around the maps, if you look around the practice zone, there's a ton of tiny little inspiration points that you'll notice around from different Ubisoft IPs.
That's
It's
awesome.
just really cool.
What is, so I guess ultimately, what's the long-term goal with XDefiant? Are you guys going for an esport, a competitive shooter? Are you going for casual? I mean, or all of the above, obviously, in a free-to-play world?
Yeah, I think with free to play, it's important to have something for everyone, and I think that that's something that goes back to kind of our philosophy with player feedback. Is, you know, back in 2022, we did 26 insider sessions, which were, you know, we brought in a small amount of the community into the game, and every week we did surveys. Every week we talked to them in Discord. We wanted that feedback. We are so big on transparency on top of just responding to player feedback and listening to what they want. And so in that way, I think player feedback will be driving where we go as a title. And I think that's really important. You know, when we have yearly iterations, you have to wait kind of quite a bit to be able to see what you want as a player in that game. Whereas we now have the opportunity to hopefully have a pretty quick iteration of responding to that. And so I think, like, so that's just going to feed into where we go as a title. I think, you know, we have our casual modes. We have a ton of you know, maps and modes to engage with the players. Factions will shake up that meta a little bit, but then on top of that, we also are debuting our ranked for a closed beta, and so that's kind of another thing that we're going to be looking for player feedback on.
And then I know you guys are going the seasonal content route and events. So, like, do you guys have a time frame goal on seasons? Like, is this, you know, I mean, in the perfect world, I know like the standard is 90 days, but everybody kind of does their own thing.
Well, right now, I think we are just kind of laser set on getting through closed beta, and we'll see how that goes. I think our team has been really flexible in, you know, if we need more time to work on something, we're being able to do that as a team. And so I think we're just going to concentrate on getting through closed beta right now.
I think as you guys get closer to launch, you have a ton of content though, with 14 unique maps, and I believe it's 6 factions at launch. 5?
Five
Yeah.
launch factions. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
We'll
Tripping
have
up myself.
no, that's okay. I have a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I have made myself a cheat sheet for today. So we'll have 4 core factions to choose from: Cleaners, Echelon, Phantoms, and Libertad. And then we'll also be offering DedSec for
Awesome.
that live
And
team.
just lastly, can you speak on, and if I say the term wrong, but like your ultimates, like your player ultimates, like and how balancing has worked with that, and kind of what the desired goal of the ultimates are? Because I know those are so hard, because you want it to be impactful and enough to change an event, but at the same time you want it to not be broken.
Yeah, and that's a really tricky balance to get right.
Right.
Not for sake of puns, but the I think it encourages team play while also having those really exciting gameplay moments. And so if your team is down, I think it enforces that team. And I'm thinking about between the purifier with the cleaners, you can run in, clear a point with your team and have them be able to hold, maybe you're down and you need to catch back up. That is a great way to, it's a tactic that we've given to be able to use it. Whereas, another, it's almost like the rock, paper, scissors. You go in, you drop your Libertad alt, which is, the back, they enable their backpack. It gives that healing protection. And so in that way, there's that back and forth. It creates some really exciting moments, and hopefully is not too bad. We did have the Phantoms, or I'm sorry, not the Phantoms, the Echelon in our insider sessions, back in 2022, and player feedback was just that their Ultra was pretty OP at the time. Not only did your whole team see where all of the different opposite team players were, but then you also had like a single shot pistol that you could just take people out with. And so in that way, it was admittedly pretty OP, but the players were like, this is crazy. And so we were like, okay, we look at, the gameplay data, because I think that's that other part of the picture. You have your sentiment, but you also have to look at the in-game data. And we're like, okay, they're totally right.
It's
so
I don't ever envy your guys' job at all, because everybody works so hard to build a system you think works great. It works great in your playtest. You send it out live and you're like, why didn't anybody think of that?
Totally.
So awesome. But I really enjoyed what I played. I'm super looking forward to the closed beta as well as the eventual launch of it. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else that you want my community to know about XDefiant?
Oh, let me see. So we're doing a closed beta. You'll all get 5 invites to give to your friends. I encourage you to do that. Group up in the game, pub stomp, whatever you want. And then we're also give us feedback. Tell us what you thought about the game. On Twitter, it's PlayXDefiant. You can also go to playxdefiant.com. Our Discord is super active for XDefiant. And those are all those channels that we're looking at for feedback along with our surveys. So get involved, and then let's go have some fun.
Awesome. All right, I'll put those links in the show notes. I'm in the Discord, so I'll put the links in our show notes for the community to check it out. So.
Oh, thanks so much, Dave. Yeah. And thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, so I got our second interview. We got to talk to CeeCee earlier about just the core mechanics of XDefiant, and now I get a chance to, what I hope is to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty for our community. So if you could both introduce yourself, I guess Patrick, if you could go first, and then Scott, just because that's what it shows up on my screen, and kind of what you guys do for XDefiant.
Yeah, so I'm Patrick Price. I'm a systems designer here at Ubisoft San Francisco, working on various aspects of the game, our weapons, our movement, our game modes, and helping out with our factions.
And I'm Scott Chrisostomo. I'm Associate Game Director on XDefiant, and I work with all the other directors to make sure we deliver a fast, fun game.
Now, Scott, I got a little email earlier that it seems like you're a pretty competitive shooter person, correct?
Me compared to Pat,
or maybe it's Patrick. Maybe I'm getting the two of them confused. So, I guess I love in especially in live services game, going back to the Division, but I also play a lot of Destiny, and I've also messed with some other stuff. But like build crafting and working into using your things at the right time, the right place, but at the same time balance. So can you guys talk to me about, especially in a free-to-play where you're going to see a massive spikes in player counts as well as things that they're doing, like what are your ultimate goals of keeping the factions in line as well as the ultimates?
Want to take this one, Pat?
Sure. Yeah. So, throughout the last year with our insider sessions, I think that was a great opportunity for us to gauge feedback and also see data from what players are choosing. I think you mentioned what's going to happen when there's a ton of players. And kind of how they experience the game differently than us. And we haven't been shy to making balance changes throughout the last year. We've definitely tested and tried a bunch of different things to really nail down that sweet spot in our factions. There's also our weapons, right? And our gadgets. And so, all these things interact with each other. None of them are, just unique to themselves. They all kind of add to that experience and all need to be balanced together. And so it's something that I think that we're really focused on as a top priority in terms of keeping that balance fun and fresh and on a level playing field for everybody.
I did get the two of you confused. Patrick's the Call of Duty champion. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
I guess
Scott's been pretty competitive in our playtest. Don't
Yeah.
devs always know how to cheat. No, I'm playing. I guess I'd be curious though, since I fumbled that a little bit. But Patrick, talk about that transition though from Call of Duty to this, because like I got to play it for about 2 hours this week, and it definitely feels. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but it feels a little slower than COD.
Yeah, so my history, I was a professional player for 10 years, and then I had an awesome opportunity to join the XDefiant team about 18 months ago, and ever since I did, it's honestly been a blast, coming in and learning this aspect of the game development, the back end behind the scenes, and having a voice on all of our aspects of the game has been awesome. Definitely been a learning experience, but I think learning as to like why some decisions happen and routes that we want to go in terms of game balance is super intriguing to kind of learn and be a part of. But yeah, I mean, look, we're a fast-paced 6v6 arena shooter. We want our gunplay to be the core of our game, and also how our movement kind of our player movement, the mantle, the slide, things like that, how that interacts with our gunplay. We want it to feel very rewarding and satisfying when you not only get a kill, but when you traverse each map.
And Scott, can you dig into the attachments a little bit for me? I mean, there's a lot, and then there's a lot that you earn, as well as being individually weapon specific as well. Is there a concern about? I guess I'm trying to word this right. Is there a concern about pigeonholing, like myself becoming attached to an LMG and never trying anything else out, but building the attachment on that? So
I mean, the thing is, if you like LMGs, you like LMGs, right? So what's nice is these factions are not locked to having any specific weapon that they need to use. You're free to choose whatever you like. Snipers, use snipers. You like shotguns, use those. For our weapons, we've got 7 different categories for attachments. You got the muzzle, you got the stocks, you got the ammunition types, and players would be able to choose 5 of those 7 categories to equip their weapons and to further suit the playstyle that they have. So yeah, you might use an LMG, but do you the type of player that likes to run around and hip fire these LMGs or SMGs? Are you like a player that with their assault rifle, they like to kind of stand back and use range? So yeah, our attachments give players further agency into developing the weapon they want to use that fits their playstyle.
Awesome, and I think it's cool that it becomes your weapon. Like that's always a big a big function of like I own this, I built this. This is built how I wanted it to be built. It is the little bit that I got to play, it is a little overwhelming because I always want to mess with the new thing, but I'm already kind of attached to the other thing that I got to level 3. So and I'm sure that there'll be XP boosts and like the challenge system. And I mean, I see a lot of stuff of a lot of core foundation pieces from other games, which is great, and menu systems as well. But can you guys talk just about the Ubisoft platform of everything that you're using to build around? I mean, there's a lot of Far Cry in there, there's a lot of Watch Dogs in there, there's a lot of Division in there. Can you speak to the challenges of trying to balance both of those in balance? I'm more speaking about using those the core Ubisoft properties as well as making a competitive shooter.
Sure. So we wanted to, as you said, we wanted to pull in different factions from the various Ubisoft franchises and get them all playing together in this 6v6 arena shooter. And so we made sure that we talked to the other studios and kind of collaborated them early on into like, so what is this character from this game kind of known for, and what do they specialize in? And we early on would work with them and make sure that when players pick up a specific faction from a game, it's in line with what they would expect.
Awesome. So I guess as we kind of wrap this up, what would be, like, I guess both of you, Patrick and Scott, what would be the core thing that you want the players to take away from the closed beta that's coming up in the middle of April?
So I'll start. Sure, I'll start. I know it's appealing because like sometimes people just want to lock in and like, oh, I love this game. I'm going to play this this one character, but like there is something for each faction. People will always gravitate to one play style, but try things out during the closed beta, and you might find a new faction that you like that you just never even thought about trying.
Yeah, along with our factions, I think we will have progression turned on for the closed beta, and players will be able to unlock the weapons as they progress. And so, don't be shy to trying some of those new weapons, those attachments that you unlock. We want to get feedback on all of our weapons, and we haven't talked about how we're going to, but we're going to have a version of ranked play, very work in progress version of ranked play at the later on in closed beta, and personally, I really want to get feedback on our ranked play, because that's something that we are working on and is very important to our title.
Awesome. All right, so we got the closed beta in the middle of April, and then there's like I said earlier in the first interview, we'll have the Discord linked in the show notes, and based on the emails and stuff that I've gotten, like, they want to hear from us guys. They want to know what's going on. They want to know what we like, what we don't like. So join the Discord, follow them on Twitter at XDefiant, I believe, and like send it to them. So is there anything else that you guys want anybody to know about XDefiant going into this beta?
I mean, early on, we established that we want to hear from our fans and the audience and get their feedback so we can make the changes and put them in. We want this game to be evolving and keeping people happy along the way.
Yeah, and I actually want to go back to one of the questions you asked me earlier on how that transition has been from the pro player side to now the dev side. It's been really amazing seeing the meetings that have been scheduled just talking about player feedback and how we want to integrate changes based on that feedback that we've got. So feedback is super at the core of our title, and so yeah, like you said, please, everyone that is playing, give as much feedback as you can. It really helps us get to that sweet spot we want to be at.
Look at that. That's Patrick turning into a dev already, of going like, oh, we are listening. We're really listening. I promise. When a couple years ago, he's probably like, do these people even listen or what? See what I do?
Hey, that's why I told you I couldn't turn down this opportunity, man.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Awesome.
And
I appreciate it, guys.
We're thrilled to have him.
I appreciate the time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Dave.